Welcome to Capital City News, the best way to stay informed and engaged with Salt Lake City government. I'm your host, Brian Young with Salt Lake City TV. For our episode today, we spoke with Captain Tony Stowe from the Salt Lake City Fire Department about wildfires in Utah and the firework restrictions that we have in place here in Salt Lake City. For our History Minute this week, we talk about the segregation that occurred right here at the City and County building behind me. Before we get to those, it's time for our legislative update, our road construction update, our look backs, and our look ahead.
At its June 14th meeting, the City Council voted unanimously to adopt the city's $1.5 billion annual budget for fiscal year 22-23 beginning July 1st. To learn more, visit slc.gov/council. Salt Lake City Mayor Aaron Mendenhall joined leaders from the Black community, City Council, and the state to raise the Juneteenth flag above City Hall in recognition of this important holiday.
So as we continue the celebration and commemoration, it would be all for naught if we don't do the difficult work ahead to bring about a more just and fair society here in Salt Lake, in Utah, and across the country.
In observance of Juneteenth, city offices were closed. To learn more about Juneteenth or to watch the entire flag-raising event, please visit our YouTube page. The Archie and Lois Archuleta Bridge was dedicated at a celebration attended by the Archuletas family members, community leaders, and city officials. The previously unnamed pedestrian bridge was built in 2017 and runs from 200 South to North Temple along the Jordan River. The Archuletas were honored with a key to the city in 2018 for their lifelong commitment to education, social justice, and community mentorship, and for their advocacy work in support of individuals experiencing homelessness, the LGBTQ community, Latinx community, and more. Archie passed away in 2019. To watch the full event, please visit our YouTube page. In Salt Lake City's hot and dry climate, trees need to have supplemental watering to survive. It is the responsibility of the adjacent property owner to water trees in the park strip. Salt Lake City Urban Forestry provides a watering bag with each newly planted tree. If you need any help figuring out tree watering and other ways to help with water conservation, visit the city's website for ideas.
Not even the heat of summer can slow down construction season in Salt Lake City. For our road construction update this week, we take a look at two major construction projects on local streets.
Our first group of local streets projects is wrapping up after reconstructing 4 roads in the East Liberty Park neighborhood. The primary goal of local streets is to identify residential roads in poor or failing conditions with a full removal and rebuild of the road. We also do work on curb, gutter, sidewalks, and drive approaches to make the street friendly to all modes of transportation. Our next phase of Local Streets 2022 has started. We will be rebuilding 800 West from 600 South to 900 South. On 200 South, we are putting in a new hawk light between the Galvin Center and Regent Street. These pedestrian improvements will make event goers cross 200 South in a safer and more visible way. Before, the crosswalk relied on signage and visibility flags for pedestrians to cross. But with this new light, we can ensure our fans of theater, music, and community events can move throughout the area safely.
That's it for this week's road construction update. Remember to keep track of these or any other construction projects in Salt Lake City. Visit slc.gov/construction. The threat of wildfire looms like a shadow over everything we've built in Salt Lake Valley. But we spoke with Captain Tony Stowe from the Salt Lake City Fire Department about how we can prevent that from happening and what restrictions we've put in place for fireworks this year.
Salt Lake City, we're kind of a unique demographic where we run right up to the foothills, and we have houses that are built right up to a lot of these areas that are heavily wooded and heavily grassed. We call these lightweight fuels, and especially this year, spring of 2022, we've had a lot of sporadic weather and late season moisture, which has really allowed this grass, the cheatgrass up the hillsides and around me to get quite tall. And already here, just late June, we're beginning to dry out, which has created a a tremendous fuel load. This is basically like covering a hillside in gasoline. The fire can travel up these hillsides in excess of 30 to 40 miles per hour with these steep aspects behind me. There are a few things we have going. One is Salt Lake City Fire Department's Ready, Set, Go program. We're working with a lot of these houses along that what we would call urban interface line, and educating the residents in the area on how to clear areas around their home to give them more of a defensible space between where the fire line would be and their home. We've expanded what would be a traditional firework restriction area. Last year was a complete restriction of fireworks in all the Salt Lake City area just due to the high drought nature that we had. This year we do have areas within the city where residents and citizens can light off fireworks, but we do have some restrictions in place. For a comprehensive list and a map of all firework restricted areas, go to slcfire.com and click on our restriction map. You'll see that all fireworks are restricted anywhere north of South Temple, west of Redwood Road, east of 900 East, all city parks including golf courses, and 2 blocks east and west of the Jordan River Parkway. Utah does have 2 firework holidays in July, so again, as a state, we're a little unique. Some of the things that you can do to help keep yourself and your family safe, as well as your neighbors. We need to be considerate of our neighbors and their property as well. Anytime you're lighting fireworks, obviously we want to try and purchase first fireworks that are legal to use here. There are aerials that are legal and aerials that are not legal. Again, that information on specific fireworks can be found at slcfire.com. What we really encourage people to do is have a garden hose with a spray nozzle on standby. Have a 5-gallon bucket or larger if you have more fireworks that you can take all of your used fireworks, place them in and soak them overnight in water before placing them in a trash receptacle. A lot of the response that we have is fireworks that have been placed in a garbage receptacle too early, and those cans are placed close to their homes. This leads to a smoldering fire overnight that can extend into the house. Other things, sparklers, a lot of people treat sparklers as if there's no hazard with them at all, that they burn in excess of 1400 degrees, and then we put those in kids' hands. So please monitor very closely all the activity of any fireworks that you place in the hands of minors and young children. Probably the safest bet this season is to forego personal fireworks. Seek fireworks shows or laser shows in your local area by looking up your local area's website. You can go to slcfire.com to look up fire restrictions and recommendations for fireworks, as well as go to slc.gov to seek local events in your area.
It's time for our regular dose of Salt Lake City history. The Salt Lake City and County building used to have a lunch counter on its main floor. In 1948, the contract to operate that counter was owned by a man named J. Russell Durant, though the counter itself was city property. On a fine day in May, 5 black women, led by Frankie Rollins, all members of the local youth council of the NAACP, were refused service at the counter. Frankie, a senior at West High School, promptly filed a petition with Salt Lake City, noting that all 5 women were residents and taxpayers in Salt Lake City and were entitled to use the public amenities. At a May 12, 1948 hearing with the Salt Lake City Commission, Laverne Price, another West High senior, acted as the spokesperson for the NAACP Youth Council. She spoke to the commission about the discrimination faced by the black residents of Salt Lake City across all walks of life, and laid out the demands of a petition that stated that the city was obligated to set a good example in the community and serve all people in their building. More than 100 members of the black community packed the council chambers in support of this petition. The commission voted that night to request that the lunch counter serve all comers after that, though they stopped short of anything more formal than a request. There were no further complaints of refusal of service, but that doesn't mean they might not have happened. The lunch counter was moved in 1974 to its present location in the basement, where everyone is welcome. That's it for another episode of Capital City News. Remember, the best way to stay informed is to stay engaged. You can do that by following us on social media at SLC.gov, subscribing to us on YouTube, or watching us on Channel 17. So reporting in from just outside the City and County building, I'm Brian Young with SLC TV.